Hi, I'm Steve. This is Fran. Today we're going to talk about big refrigerators, 42-inch and up.
All
What
right.
do you got?
So let's start right off the bat. Let's start with Thermador, who does have 42 and 48-inch bottom mount refrigerators.
These are the new kind of integrated ones, right, with 6 drawers. And I think a lot of it is very good. You know, you've got stainless steel interior. You've got, a drawer that can be refrigerator or freezer. You can choose one or the other at any time. You had 2 different kinds of ice technology, which you probably don't need to see a camera in there, but you still have it in case you are the type of guy. I ordered an extra. I ordered, admittedly, an extra jar of Grey Poupon, but I'm willing to spend the extra $5 rather than
You'll
use
use
the
it sooner or
fridge.
later.
I think so. However, and I think this thing looks great paneled. I mean, it looks great paneled if you can panel it, because one of the problems you're gonna have is finding tradespeople that can put panels on it. I mean, we've done 11,000 installations last year of all different types. A lot of it are these ridiculously hard refrigerator panels to put on.
Yeah.
Hard. So make sure someone can do it before you order, but great in panels. The problem is when you buy a bigger fridge with a compressor on the bottom versus Sub-Zero that we'll talk about with the compressor on the top, although they've got compressor bottom, everything goes up. So if you're like 5, 7 inch shorter, you're going to be reaching. And that's not a good thing to do because either something bad's going to happen, like you're going to spill something, or you're never going to go to the top of your fridge. But in terms of aesthetically, this is really inspired in terms of functionally. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like the 42-inch has the kind of regular 2 doors and then the 2 drawers underneath. The 48-inch, now we're jumping up to a 6 door where you have kind of the cubed 4 drawers on the bottom. And parts of it are nice because you can definitely organize a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But it also does make it kind of like, we talked about old school side by sides. It kind of does make the freezer very narrow. So if you have wider items, even like frozen pizzas, things like that, sometimes that can be difficult there too. I do like the flexibility of it when you can do fridge or freezer. And then paneling, like you said, that one thing that's always important when you're paneling like that 4 door, lining that up with the cabinets to the left and the right of the refrigerator as well. And that is something you absolutely want to keep an eye on because that can shift over. Hard to get it initially and can definitely shift over time.
You also got to cut 6 doors. I mean, you're going to get 2 different prices. You're going to get, well, that's not so bad. And then you're going to hit with an installation charge, and then you're going to get hit with the panels, which could be super expensive depending on, and they've got to be cut perfectly to put that on that fridge.
Yeah.
I like the fridge. Aesthetically, it's an A or an S even, but I'd probably put it as a B tier. And we've got several other refrigerators that are going to be very similar to this. Miele, which is made in
Jump
the
right
same
into it.
factory.
Meal is the next one.
When you know it, Miele is made in the same factory. It's the same fridge. So really, how do you choose between Miele and Thermador? Well, it depends on the kitchen package you pick, and it depends on the available service in your area because it's the same fridge. And that's how you pick them,
Yeah.
I think.
Miele right now still has the 42-inch. That's the same, not the 48-inch yet, but definitely have the 42 that is, again, same. Yeah.
They're made in Turkey. Excellus, I think, is the company that makes them now.
So we do a similar rating.
Similar rate.
Only makes sense. All right, let's jump to Sub-Zero.
Sub-Zero's got the most refrigerators. They were the first to initiate almost everything in this segment between 2 compressors, vacuum sealed doors. I think they store food better in a Sub-Zero because you can't open the thing. I mean, it's hard to open. And then you got magnetic crisper bins on there. Once the air gets in, they can't go in any place. They get split climate, so now the temperature goes fridge and crispers separately. You got air scrubbing. They take refrigerators seriously. And one thing that we service what we sell, and this is an important piece of information. You can get a Sub-Zero part back before when I started at Yale in 1986. We're still ordering stuff for, it was the 5 series when I was a kid. It was a 2 series when my dad sold it, and you can still get parts for it. And that is really unusual. If you're buying this forward 20 years, this is going to be easier to maintain than anything else. They have the integrated, which is very similar to Thermador, just not with all the doors. Same rules apply. And then they've got the compressor at top, and then they've got the commercial. In my mind, in terms of refrigerators, this is probably S tier. I don't know anybody that's different. The one thing it doesn't do is what True, which we'll get to, does really well, which is fancy painted colors. You can't get that in a Sub-Zero, but you can get paneled or stainless, which is the majority of the installations.
Yeah, definitely hard to beat a Sub-Zero. And kind of in this series, in their 42 and 48-inch French doors, it's their classic series. So we talked before about the compressors on the bottom making everything really high up. These ones with the compressors on top push everything down. It's funny because I would say, like, you've seen all these brands come up with different style refrigerator, 4-door. Sub-Zero kind of just stayed tried and true to what they've done and what's been popular. And it seems to me anyway, seems to be the best design out there for a 48 or a 42.
The only thing is what you could do on those compressor top, because they're counter depth, meaning the door sticks out about that much versus something flat and integrated, is you can always build a cabinet like a couple inches and have that look. But the difference is it's 6 foot to the top of the Sub-Zero interior, is 6'7" on a
Yeah,
Thermador.
it's a big difference. S tier.
This is S tier, yeah, no question.
Okay, next one, let's go SKS.
Well, SKS is a guy, what's the difference between SKS and Thermador?
So very similar.
I do think the SKS might be a little better because Thermador's got that little, and Miele's got that bump out in the middle
Right
of it.
in the controls, yeah.
And you can't really store anything like, waist high to here. It's got this thing in the middle. I can't explain it.
And it makes that shelf a little bit higher.
Yeah. SKS doesn't. And SKS is 6'3"
Mhm.
to the top, whereas Thermador is 6'7". They also have the, I think the best ice, that craft ice, those wall ice. I mean, that's what you get in these fancy bars.
So, yeah. Only a 48 with SKS too. So they have a 36 and a 48, no 42. I'm sure it's coming, but right now.
They also have the biggest integrated refrigerators. Their integrated refrigerators have the most cubic footage somehow, by, 1 to 2 cubic feet, which matters when you're only getting 18 to 20. So I would say this is an A tier.
Next one, let's go with Viking.
Let's not. The reason is Viking, way back when, 30 years ago, bought the old Amana tooling in Iowa, and it was an unproven fridge. And they kicked that can down about 30 years. No kidding. And they moved it from Iowa to Greenwood, Mississippi. I want to say about 8-10 years ago. And now they're moving it to Michigan. In the meantime, what you're getting is a Vahiba, where it's an Italian fridge with a Viking name on it. This is not something that you should consider buy. This is D tier at best. I wouldn't buy one of those things.
Okay, enough said. You alluded to it earlier. Let's talk about True. And really what True, to get to that bigger size, like the 42, 48, you're really looking at side by sides. Their bottom mounts really are kind of 36, not larger than that.
I don't mind side by sides at 42, 48. I think everything's more accessible. What do you mean these big drawers, like in these other brands, or even the small ones in Thermador and SKS and Miele, hard to store. And it's not readily accessible. I mean, you can bury stuff in these drawers. I've got a 36-inch Sub-Zero and I could bury stuff in it, right? So I don't mind side-by-sides for that. I mind side-by-sides at 36 because I don't think you're usable space. But in 48 and 42, it doesn't matter as much. And you got to go to a showroom to take a look and see what's right for you, obviously. But I love the colors in this thing.
You do just about any color at this point with True as well.
I love going on a True site and just playing with the colors because you can play with the color and then play with the hinge.
Yeah.
Because the hinge has got different colors than the actual thing. So you can make something really unique. The downside is that's about 2% of the market. 50% of the market's paneled, right? Or 40 to 50, would you say?
Yeah.
Is
Oh, for sure.
steel?
And it's not an option.
It's not an option. You can't panelize a True because I guess you can't panel a fridge in a kitchen. They want to see it, right? They want to see what they got there. But True doesn't panel.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. This is an A tier. True and Sub-Zero, they're both American companies, both family owned. They remind me, even talking to the people there, they remind me of very similar companies. I think Sub-Zero's got probably the better application with the panel versus the color, but this is a really good fridge. This is an A-level fridge.
Yeah, definitely commercial style, built really well.
Yeah, from a construction standpoint,
no
it's the
question.
best.
Absolutely. Okay, so last one, we're going to talk BlueStar. And BlueStar, really, to get to the larger size.
That's a Monogram or something?
Not in that size.
48?
No.
They don't have it
the
anymore?
42.
Oh.
Yeah. So even with BlueStar, like, you're not really getting that larger bottom mount. It's really columns that you're going to get with them.
Yeah, when you talk about columns, it's like, you get the refrigerator and the freezer, and you can add them up to 60, 72, whatever you want. I think BlueStar is really good. It's got the same compressor story as the other ones. They just don't make them very large. The good thing about BlueStar is colors. I mean, you get 1,000 colors, and if you don't like the 1,000, they'll make you a color.
Color match. Yeah, they'll color, and you can give them a sample of something from your house, and they'll color match it as well. So pretty incredible.
I didn't know there was 1,000 colors, but evidently there is. So if you got a color 997, this line is for you. Other than that, though, I like the product. I think it's probably A or B tier. depending what you're looking for.
And I guess going back to Monogram real quick as I'm thinking, so they do have their kind of traditional side-by-sides in those larger ones, but the newer style bottom mount that they have, those, yeah, not yet on that size, but they do have their kind of side-by-sides that have been around for a little bit.
I like Monogram as a value play. It's inexpensive, but I don't think it's nearly as functional as Sub-Zero. It doesn't have twin compressors. You know, it's a totally different box, but you're spending 10 versus 18s. I'll give you a rebate deal on top of that. I think that's a pretty interesting fridge because Monogram has still got factory service too. And if you want a really nice looking package for probably what, 60% of the money you pay on a Sub-Zero Wolf, very viable option now. So that might not be a bad consideration. I'd say that's an A tier for value, or even an S tier for value, but maybe, B for features.
Yeah, agreed. And that's it.
That's it.
That's all of them.
We'll be doing more of these. Hit the like and subscribe if you like them.